guys. So in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about metaphysics and epistemology in general. And in the next 3 videos, we'll cover the specific articles that we're reading for this unit, which are the Plato article, the Descartes article, and then the Code article. So I just want to give a little bit of a background about what metaphysics and epistemology is, so that hopefully when you watch the other videos and read the articles, you'll be able to make sense of it in your head. So metaphysics, 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 used to be called, or is sometimes called, first philosophy. It's called first philosophy because metaphysics is the branch of philosophy that talks about the nature of reality. In some ways, metaphysical questions are like the kind of craziest philosophical questions, because there's questions that asks about the nature of reality. It doesn't get more sort of deep thinking than that. So what metaphysics tries to do is establish criteria which will enable us to make a distinction between appearance and reality. By that I mean things happen in our everyday lives that we say, oh, that's not real. That's not real. For example, if I had a bad dream and I said to one of my children, oh my God, I had the most horrible dream last night that this thing happened. They'd be like, Mom, don't worry. It's not real. They don't mean, Mommy, you didn't have that dream. They mean, Mommy, the content of that dream, what you're frightened of or worried about or afraid of, that's not real. It didn't really happen. Or if a friend of yours ingested a substance, right, and had a hallucination and thought that, pencils were flying after them or something, you'd be like, yo, dude, relax. It's not real. What you mean is not, they're not experiencing this. You mean there is something different between that experience, the flying pencils, and hopefully this experience, which I think we would characterize as real. So what metaphysics wants to do is give us criteria. What is it that distinguishes something that is real from something that is an appearance? If I were to, go like this and, oh, this is very good. Would you like something to drink? You'd be like, oh my God, this woman is crackers, which you may well already think. But the idea, again, is that whatever I think that I'm drinking, we are inclined to say, and I personally would want a metaphysical theory that would say, this cup in my hand is not real, but this water bottle is real. So that's the idea with metaphysics, is what criteria should we use which allows us to distinguish between appearance and reality. For example, materialism. Materialism is a metaphysical theory that says that in order to be real, you need to be made up of matter. And if something isn't made up of matter, then it's not real. So why is this water bottle real, but this cup isn't real? Well, because this water bottle is made up of matter, but this cup isn't. When we embrace a theory like materialism and we want to talk about things like love or justice or beauty, I'm inclined to want to say that love and justice and beauty are real. But if I'm a materialist, I then need to say that those things are real only insofar as they're made up of matter. So love needs to be a chemical thing. I'm not quite sure which isn't so terribly problematic, right? The hormones, the pituitary, the hypothalamus, blah, 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 whatever it is, right? We can certainly explain love in a physiological sense. But what about justice? What about beauty? What about truth? These things don't seem like they're made up of matter, but I certainly don't want a metaphysical theory that says that justice isn't real. In other words, to say that something is not real if we cannot, as metaphysicians, establish something as real based on certain criteria, if it's not real, then it's nothing at all, right? This cup is nothing at all. There is nothing in my hand. There is nothing there. It does not exist. It is not real. So if I cannot give you criteria to say that why justice is real, then it's nothing at all, or it's whatever I think it is, and I'm inclined to want justice to be something actually, not just what I think. It's kind of hard to explain. So another possibility is a metaphysical position known as idealism. Idealism is a metaphysical position that says what's real are things, are thoughts and ideas. So in order for something to be real, it has to exist in your mind as a thought. Here, it's difficult to say that there is an objective reality. Reality in this idealism sense becomes more subjective in terms of what exists inside your own head. There's then a third position called dualism, D-U-A-L-I-S-M, dualism, which says that there are two distinct realities, a physical material reality and an idea reality, which works for explaining a human being, right? Our next unit, we're going to talk about personal identity. What is the reality of my identity? It makes sense to say, oh, well, I've got a body and I've got a mind. And by mind, we mean something other than brain. The problem with dualism is we're characterizing two utterly different components of reality, one thing matter and another thing mind, which is immaterial. But then it's unclear how something immaterial, namely the mind, would affect matter. Like there's an orchid here in the background, whoop, right there. I don't know where it is. There. Anyway, can my mind affect matter? So when it's appealing in one sense to make a distinction between sort of realms of reality or categoricas of reality. Some things are real in one sense, like justice and beauty and truth, and other things are real in this other, like physical sense. But then when we try and say how those two worlds interact, that becomes difficult. It's something known as the mind-body problem. So that is a little bit about metaphysics. So if I want to make a metaphysical claim, I'm making a claim about existence. I'm making a claim about what exists and what is real in the universe. Epistemology, E-P-I-S-T-E-M-O-L-O-G-Y, epistemology is the category of philosophy that talks about knowledge and certainty. In other words, how do we know? And when philosophers use the word know, capital K-N-O-W, they're talking about certainty. To know something in a philosophical sense is to be certain of it. Not to think, not to believe, not to have an opinion, but a knowledge claim, a claim of knowing in a philosophical sense is a claim of certainty. So if I make a metaphysical claim about existence, this water bottle exists, that is a metaphysical claim, a claim about existence. The very next question probably is, well, how do you know? In other words, what criteria am I using to establish the reality of the existence of this water bottle? How do I know the water bottle exists? Do I know it exists because I perceive it? Do I know it exists because in some sort of rational way, I know that I take fluids into my body, and in order to do that, I need a vessel that would port that fluid into my body. So you can ask metaphysical questions without asking an epistemological question, right? The metaphysical question is a claim about existence. The epistemological question is, how do you know about that object's or thing's existence? In the Plato article that we're going to read, and to some extent in the Descartes article, we're going to see these two questions become connected together because it makes perfect sense, I think, that one would ask a metaphysical question and then the epistemological question. Stand by, my telephone is ringing. I'll be right back. Trying. Okay, so that was a very long break for me, maybe just a second or so for you. I'll just try and wrap this up, but I just wanted to say a couple more things generally about metaphysics and epistemology. So, with epistemology and this question of knowledge, the question becomes what counts as knowing? Does knowing mean absolute, positive certainty, meaning unable to doubt, what Descartes is going to call indubitable, meaning you can't possibly question it? Or is certainty or knowledge going to be some sort of preponderance of evidence such that we're as sure as we can be? One thing in common between metaphysics and epistemology is that traditionally claims of reality, claims of something being real, are going to be an indication that something is permanent, unchanging, eternal, and universal. So permanent and unchanging, those things are basically the same thing. Eternal meaning it's always been this way, and universal meaning it's this way for everyone everywhere. Knowledge is also something that is permanent. Knowledge does not change. If something is knowable, it is permanent. Truth does not change based on anything. Truth is permanent, and only truth is knowable. So when we read the Lorraine Code article, she's going to ask us to think about ways in which our gender might affect our knowing or our ability to know. Are there certain things that are knowable only if you are a certain gender? We could ask the same question about your race. An epistemological privilege that one race or gender might have over another. So these are concepts that we're going to be dealing with in the various articles we're going to look at. The next video, theoretically, that you're going to watch is going to be about Plato's theory of knowledge, and that's going to mostly come from the Republic. So I will see you in a little bit when we talk about Plato. Okay, see ya.